If I picked the jersey back up and put it on, wouldn't you feel a little bit like, oh,
Marvel's dead. That's exactly what Robert Downey Jr. hinted at, and it's sending shockwaves through Hollywood. He's saying it outright. Disney's panicking, and Warner Brothers is pulling the strings. But this isn't just a rumor. Warner Brothers is aggressively going after the very actors who made Marvel a household name. They're signing up the Avengers cast.
They were much more proactive in sort of making their talent whole.
One by one, and it's happening at a pace that's leaving Disney scrambling to keep up. It's a move no one saw coming, and it might just be the final blow Marvel can't recover from. Disney's response? Pure desperation. The studio that once dominated global box office charts, with its sprawling Infinity Saga, is now playing catch-up. They're turning to nostalgia like a drowning man clutches at a lifeline. Iron Man is dead, Captain America's legacy is buried, and Black Widow's legal disputes are making headlines. Every recognizable name from Marvel's past is being resurrected in hopes that familiarity will revive the brand, but it's not working. And here's the kicker. Robert Downey Jr. himself is fueling the speculation. If I picked the jersey back up and put it on, he muses before trailing off. It's a loaded statement.
The door to Iron Man totally closed? Because I don't believe it is.
if I picked the jersey back up and put it on, wouldn't you feel a little bit like, oh,
No.
crap?
And fans are scrambling to interpret it. Is he teasing a comeback? If so, it's not for Disney. Not exclusively, and definitely not for the MCU as we once knew it. Let's unpack how Disney lost control of its golden empire. It didn't happen gradually, it didn't sneak up over years. It hit hard fast, and everyone could see it coming, except the executives cashing the checks. Take a look at the warning signs.
No, we've had conversations about it being much more challenging than I expected. I felt that from the beginning when I came back.
Brie Larson was undermined in her own sequel, while Scarlett Johansson openly sued Disney. Chris Hemsworth was ridiculed in front of his family in Thor: Love and Thunder. Jeremy Renner faced slashed compensation following a near-fatal accident. Tom Holland quietly shifted to other projects without fanfare. Disney's leadership wasn't blind to this crisis. They saw it coming long before fans started noticing. Bob Iger, Disney's returning CEO, admitted as much. It's much more challenging than I expected. Worse than anyone thought, he confessed. Marvel is hemorrhaging billions, cutting $7 billion from its operations, not by choice but out of necessity. Hundreds of layoffs followed, stripping the studio of creative and technical talent alike. Why? Because Marvel forgot who its audience was. Instead of delivering compelling arcs, meaningful consequences, and characters fans could relate to, Disney flooded screens with low-effort comedies and shallow feminist branding campaigns. Case in point, She-Hulk. Critics slammed the show for lacking direction, tone, and purpose, yet Disney pushed it forward, pretending everything was fine. By the time fans voiced their frustration, it was too late. The turning point came at Brie Larson, once heralded as Marvel's next big star, appeared exhausted and defeated. The smirk, the awkward pause, it wasn't acting. It was surrender. Disney responded by cutting her screen time and elevating side characters, like Kamala Khan, signaling that even their marquee talent wasn't safe. Fans saw it, understood it, and turned their backs. Then came Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit. Instead of defending her, Disney retaliated by accusing her of greed during the pandemic, a move that shattered the trust she had built with fans. Her warning was clear: I'm happy no one else will have to go through this. She wasn't celebrating, she was crying out for help. The dominoes kept falling. Jeremy Renner revealed he rejected a heavily reduced salary offer, which came after a life-threatening injury. He felt disrespected and blindsided. Similarly, Carrie Coon, who voiced Proxima Midnight in Infinity War, was reportedly offered the same pay, despite the film's massive earnings, a glaring sign that the studio prioritized profits over fairness. Beyond marquee names, Marvel's systemic issues extended to behind-the-scenes staff. Over 50 visual effects artists unionized, citing unbearable schedules, low pay, and chaotic production timelines. This wasn't a one-off, it was an industry-wide symptom of corporate greed, mismanagement, and neglect. While these issues unfolded, something even more alarming began brewing. Marvel's talent wasn't just unhappy, they were defecting. Chris Hemsworth openly explored roles outside the MCU, while Chris Evans aligned with Warner Brothers' Robert Downey Jr., too, publicly praised Warner Brothers projects like Oppenheimer, and even joked about a potential return to his iconic role, though not for Disney. This exodus is no coincidence. Warner Brothers has aggressively courted Marvel's biggest stars, offering creative freedom, better compensation, and professional respect elements Disney failed to provide. Marvel's decline is the result of a toxic mixture, mismanagement, greed, and an utter disconnect from fan expectation. Their attempts to cling to past glory by dragging every recognizable face back into the spotlight have only accelerated their downfall. With Warner Brothers stepping in, offering stability and reinvention, Disney's empire is crumbling before our eyes. The question now isn't whether the Avengers cast is jumping ship, it's how far they'll go before abandoning the brand completely. And with Marvel's reputation in tatters, Disney's future looks bleaker than ever. This isn't just Hollywood drama, it's a cautionary tale of what happens when corporations forget their roots and treat their talent like replaceable parts. The Avengers were once superheroes. Now they're casualties in a war for relevance, and Disney's desperate attempts to hold on to them may be the final chapter in Marvel's fall. Marvel's dominance wasn't built on luck. Under Kevin Feige's leadership, the studio crafted a blueprint that changed cinema forever. They wove interconnected stories across films, turning lesser-known heroes like Iron Man and the Guardians of the Galaxy into massive box office successes. It wasn't just a strategy, it was a revolution in how blockbuster storytelling worked. Disney's achievements are undeniable. It holds records for the most films surpassing the billion-dollar mark. Hits like The Lion King, Frozen 2, Star Wars The Force Awakens, and Avengers Endgame, which raked in $2.79 billion globally, still rank among the top-grossing films ever. In 2019, Disney made history by releasing $7 billion films in a single calendar year. Even in 2024, they claimed a quarter of the US box office, with titles like Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Moana 2 bringing in audiences by the millions. Yet, despite this legacy of triumphs, somewhere along the way, Disney lost its grip. The powerhouse that once revolutionized Hollywood is now floundering. Marvel, which once seemed unstoppable, is hemorrhaging its own influence, and it's happening faster than anyone anticipated. Phase 4, in particular, wasn't just underwhelming, it was a mess. A crisis of identity unfolding right in front of fans, shareholders, and the actors who built the brand. What caused this collapse? It wasn't external competition or villainous plots. It was self-inflicted. After Avengers Endgame wrapped up Phase 3 with near-perfect closure, Disney made a critical mistake. Rather than taking time to regroup and craft a new vision, they rushed headlong into production without direction. Every side story, spin-off, and half-baked concept was approved, under the illusion that sheer volume equaled boldness. The result? A lineup riddled with weak scripts, tonal inconsistencies, and uninspired performances. Take She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, for instance. This legal dramedy, which should have blended humor and heartfelt storytelling, instead insulted viewers with sloppy writing, laughable CGI, and a sense that it was mocking its audience, rather than engaging them. It wasn't just a flop, it was a public relations nightmare. On top of that, the show seemed to lean into meta-commentary in a smug way, as if daring fans to criticize it. Its worst offender, a line that encapsulated everything fans loathed, suggesting Disney believed audiences wanted style over substance. Miss Marvel barely scraped the charts, while She-Hulk didn't even register in Nielsen's top rankings. Its Rotten Tomatoes audience score sat at a dismal 38%. Critics and fans alike tore it apart, and leaked reports later confirmed that this polished version was only the tip of the iceberg. Behind closed doors, Marvel insiders revealed that multiple projects were hurriedly edited or repackaged to avoid public backlash. The failures continue. Thor: Love and Thunder, with a budget north of $250 million, underperformed massively, earning less than its predecessor, despite inflated production costs. Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness squandered its momentum, introducing a forgettable villain that left audiences yawning. Eternals and Secret Invasion fared no better, each receiving record-low audience scores, struggling to even maintain attention amid streaming's content gloat. Marvel's brand, once synonymous with cinematic events and cultural milestones, has devolved into a punchline. Even longtime supporters, who once celebrated every release, now deconstruct each misstep online. Yet, Disney's response to this unraveling has been baffling. Rather than address the creative stagnation head-on, they've pulled back, slashing budgets, cutting back on production, and quietly shelving ambitious projects. According to Bob Iger, Marvel's focus has shifted. Instead of storytelling, they're prioritizing cost-cutting. Instead of expanding the franchise, they're retreating into survival mode. Staff members are being overworked and underpaid, creative teams stripped of resources, and morale plummeted. Corporate greed, once disguised as blockbuster success, has been exposed as the driving force behind their decline. While Disney flailed, Warner Brothers quietly capitalized, watching Marvel's talent desert the studio WB didn't just throw money at the problem, they offered Robert Downey Jr., fresh from acclaimed roles like Oppenheimer, was welcomed with opportunities that valued his craft. Chris Evans found roles that reignited his passion. Directors like Zack Snyder were given full creative freedom. Even legends like Denzel Washington and Will Smith were courted with lucrative deals aimed at restoring trust and artistic integrity. It's a stark contrast to Disney's treatment of its stars, where Disney promised blockbusters, WB offered meaningful roles and autonomy. Where Disney slashed budgets, WB invested in storytelling, and where Disney's franchise felt exploitative, WB built alliances rooted in respect. Desperation has now driven Disney to resurrect old glories. Rumors swirl about bringing back Iron Man with RDJ and reviving Wolverine with Hugh Jackman. But this gamble isn't born of confidence, it's born of panic. Nostalgia is their last resort, and even that may not work. Fans, exhausted by subpar releases and corporate manipulation, have already disengaged. A resurrection of familiar faces won't reignite their passion if trust has been shattered. The real tragedy: even if Disney cobbles together the original Avengers lineup, it won't fix the deeper wound. The industry's reliance on recycled content and fractured storytelling has alienated audiences, leaving Marvel vulnerable and fractured. So how did it come to this? How did Disney, once Hollywood's crown jewel, allow its empire to crumble so spectacularly? The answer is simple: they ignored their core audience, exploited talent, and mistook volume for vision. The result is a final betrayal, not from villains or competitors, but from within their own ranks. Now the real enemy isn't some cosmic supervillain, it's Warner Bros. Calculated, patient, and strategic. They didn't invade with armies or monsters, they moved silently, courting stars Disney had discarded, and reshaping Hollywood's hierarchy one actor at a time. Sources confirm that WB has quietly locked down deals with at least 4 former Avengers, turning Marvel's brightest assets into the foundation for their new empire. The writing is on the wall. Marvel's downfall isn't an accident, it's a masterclass in how not to manage a legacy. The question remains, how far will this unraveling go before the industry fully admits that Disney's golden age has ended? Chris Evans isn't starring in predictable franchise fare anymore. He's leaning into serious dramas that challenge him artistically. Scarlett Johansson, once tethered to blockbuster action films, is now pursuing roles in mature, character-driven stories that speak to adult audiences. Meanwhile, Mark Ruffalo isn't holding back, openly criticizing corporate structures and even taking aim at Disney's merger with Fox. These are no longer whispers. They're public declarations. The Avengers cast isn't negotiating from behind closed doors. They're making a statement with their careers, leaving one industry titan to walk straight into the arms of another. And let's not forget what pushed them away. Scarlett Johansson, best known for playing Black Widow, was underpaid by more than $25 million and then publicly painted as a greedy opportunist. Brie Larson, once the studio's next big star, was set up for failure and abandoned when audience backlash mounted. Chris Hemsworth, who carried the Thor franchise, was mocked in promotional material and ridiculed for embracing his character's legacy. These incidents weren't isolated. They formed a pattern of manipulation and neglect. Now Warner Bros. Is stepping in, offering opportunities that Disney failed to provide. For decades, Warner Bros. Was Hollywood royalty, home to icons like Casablanca, Looney Tunes, and later franchises such as Harry Potter and DC Comics. But by the early 2020s, it had fallen behind, hemorrhaging cash and credibility. In 2023, Warner Bros. Discovery posted a staggering $10 billion quarterly loss, including a nearly $9.1 billion write-down linked to its struggling TV ventures and expensive mergers. At that time, its streaming service, Max, lagged far behind Disney Plus in global reach and profitability. Yet, the turnaround was swift and bold. In 2023 and 2024, Warner Bros. Doubled down on daring content that broke away from tired formulas. Greta Gerwig's Barbie, released in 2023, smashed box office expectations with $1.44 billion in revenue, becoming the studio's highest-grossing film ever. Dune, Part 2, followed with $714 million, reinforcing that Warner could still craft cinematic experiences that captivated audiences. By 2024, the studio hit a new milestone, reaching $1 billion at the global box office faster than any other major studio in history, just 15 weeks after its first release. Unlike Disney, which doubled down on franchises, sequels, and interconnected universes, Warner Bros. Chose to invest in standalone projects driven by creative vision rather than corporate mandates. This strategy quickly positioned it as a haven for talent seeking freedom and respect. For actors exhausted by Marvel's rigid storytelling and uninspired content, Warner's approach was a breath of fresh air. The deeper issue, however, was Disney's obsessive need for control. The studio's ambition went beyond acquiring intellectual property. It sought to dominate every facet of its talents' lives. Contracts included morality clauses, policing actors' behavior, press interviews were scripted, and stars were isolated from potential controversies. It wasn't about protecting the brand, it was about controlling the people behind it. This suffocating grip backfired. Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit, for example, exposed Disney's hypocrisy. Officially, the studio claimed she was compensated fairly and was merely greedy, but independent investigations suggested she was shorted by as much as $50 million, a jaw-dropping sum that left fans outraged. What Disney presented as a financial dispute was, in reality, exploitation. As the Marvel brand started to unravel, industry insiders weren't surprised. Even CEO Bob Iger, the man credited with Marvel's rise, admitted he had little desire to return to helm the studio. He was pulled back not out of passion, but obligation, dragged in to salvage what many believed was a sinking ship. In a dramatic turn, he compared his reluctant comeback to a manager forced to rescue a failing fast food chain. Only in this case, it was a global entertainment empire. The numbers tell the story. Disney's stock, which traded near $180 in 2021, plummeted to around $80 by late 2023, a loss of more than half its value and billions wiped from shareholders' portfolios. The board begged Iger to return, and he did so reluctantly, only after personal persuasion. Leadership born of guilt, not vision, signaled deeper problems that money alone couldn't fix. While Disney tightened budgets, cut creative teams, and hesitated to innovate, Warner Brothers quietly pursued a different path. It lured talent with respect and creative freedom, reinstating directors like Zack Snyder and greenlighting bold adult-oriented projects such as Joker, The Batman, and Dune. Under new leadership, the DC universe is being rebuilt with thoughtful storytelling, deeper character arcs, and artistic integrity. Audiences, increasingly weary of CGI-heavy spectacles and formulaic plots, are ready for this change. They're craving authenticity, grit, and narratives that matter. Warner Brothers is filling that void, giving actors roles that reflect their depth and studios a chance to create original content. Meanwhile, Disney's downfall was hastened by arrogance. Instead of listening to their audience's feedback, Marvel Productions mocked fans openly. Take She-Hulk's finale, for instance, where the protagonist argued with an AI that parodied the franchise's very formula. This was a slap in the face to viewers, a declaration that Marvel didn't need them anymore. The result? Fans abandoned the brand, just as stars did. Is Marvel dead? In its current form? Absolutely, without its core ensemble, without the leadership that made it a phenomenon, and with stale storytelling driving audiences away, the studio is spiraling. Even Deadpool 3, touted as Marvel's comeback, relies on nostalgia from earlier X-Men films and remnants of the Fox legacy, proof that Disney has run out of fresh ideas. Warner Brothers didn't need to wage war. They simply waited for Disney to exhaust its goodwill, for stars to walk away, and for audiences to grow tired of repetitive storytelling. And now, with subtle meetings, smart contracts, and genuine respect for talent, they've executed one of the most masterful turns in entertainment history. We're now entering what many are calling the post-Marvel era. Studios can no longer rely on endless sequels and expect audiences to stay loyal. Viewers are more discerning than ever, and stars are recognizing their value. The industry is shifting, and Warner Brothers is leading the charge. This isn't just a franchise collapse, it's the end of Disney's monopoly over blockbuster filmmaking. In its place, a new wave of content-driven, audience-first cinema is rising. What do you think about Warner Brothers' strategy to sign Marvel's former stars? Share your thoughts in the comments below.